What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a good Labor Day weekend this past weekend. I know I did. It gave me some extra time to play with the trains. Today, we have a fantastic modern era model to take a peek at. Believe it or not, it's actually a Lionel. As I've mentioned previously, I've had more luck with MTH for modern era equipment. However, of course, I still adore and love Lionel. But with that being the case, I don't have a whole lot of modern era Lionel engines on the layout. This is one of very few. But I absolutely love it. Today we're going to take a quick peek at the Lionel Lionmaster Union Pacific Greyhound Challenger. Gorgeous engine, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. The Lionmaster line was debuted sometime in the early 2000s. Lionel, MTH, and other manufacturers were making these great scale-detailed engines and equipment. However, it was quickly discovered there were a lot of hobbyists, such as myself, who did not have the room for the wide radius curves to accommodate these big scale-end engines and equipment. The Lionmaster line is aimed at a hobbyist such as myself who doesn't have this track. So what they do is they compress these engines down in size in order for them to run on 031 track. The Lionmaster line seems to have come and gone several times throughout the last 20 years or so. As I say, they were first debuted around the early 2000s, disappeared around 2007 or so, reappeared around 2011, and disappeared once more around 2015. Now, don't quote me on these dates, as I'm not 100% sure if it's accurate or not. However, this seems to be the proper time period. The Lionmaster line has made another debut once more back in 2018. Lionel came out with a Lionmaster Big Boy. And since they have built, I believe, one or two more engines in the Lionmaster line. It is now classified as Lion Chief Plus 2.0. I really enjoy the Lionmaster line personally. These engines fit the bill perfectly for me. As I say, this line is aimed towards the hobbyist who wants these big articulated engines, however does not have the space to run the big scaled engines. They compress the size of these engines down, as I've said earlier, so they can run on the smaller diameter curves. And that works perfect for me. My main curve on this layout is 042. Yeah, I've got some 054 and other diameters as well. However, the main track work is 042. This engine has no problem negotiating any of it. Even though it is compressed in size, it still shares the same great detail as its scaled bigger brothers and sisters. She's a great looking engine. And again, even though it's compressed, it's still a very big engine. It's very impressive. Now, it'll look a little small if it was sitting next to one of its scaled brothers or sisters. However, I don't have that problem. This thing looks great running next to my scaled equipment as well as the traditional equipment. It also looks great pulling these big scaled passenger cars behind it currently, as well as the traditional sized post-war style rolling stock. It fits all the bills perfectly. I want to make note, MTH also offers a line of compressed size engines known as the Rail King Imperial line. These engines follow the same principles, taking the big articulated engines or other big engines that normally wouldn't be able to handle the smaller radius curves and compressing them down to a size where they could. However, I really got to give it to Lionel in this category. As big of an MTH fan as I am, Lionel has pulled this off leaps and bounds ahead of MTH. Again, this is subjective, of course. However, to me, the MTH models, they don't look proportioned right. They almost look a little too toy-like, if that makes sense. Lionel did a much better job of compressing everything down together to keep the engine looking exactly how it should. Again, this is my own personal opinion. If you've been around the channel long enough, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of post-war toy-like trains. No doubt about it. However, I'm completely spoiled when it comes to the modern era steam engines. As big of a post-war toy-like train fan that I am not really a big fan of post-war steam engines. They're pretty plain, mundane, and very small looking when compared to a post-war diesel engine. And even more so when you compare them to a modern era steam engine. These things blow them out of the water in every way. How big they are, the way they look, obviously their sounds, command control. After having a modern steam engine, for me, there's no going back to a post-war steam engine. This Challenger was released in 2005. It comes equipped with Trainmaster Command Control, TMCC. It features rail sounds with crew talk and tower comm communication and announcements. It has the Odyssey speed system, dual maintenance-free motors, a wireless IR tether, illuminated classification lights, as well as flickering firebox in the cab. She comes with the normal and standard traction tires, synchronized fan-driven smoke unit, die-cast metal body, as well as die-cast metal body on the tender. Has an electrocoupler on the rear, and an engineer and fireman figures inside the cab. Again, also as mentioned, the smallest diameter curve this engine can handle is 0.31, which to me even today is still very impressive for how big of an engine this is. I will say with this TMCC controlled engine, it is a little bit dated by today's standards. The smoke unit doesn't smoke when it's sitting still. However, it does chuff with the drivers, but the smoke output is nothing compared to newer aged Lionel, or hell, even MTH, but of course that's a given. It only sports 2 chuffs per revolution of the drivers. However, though, the sound system is so great on this engine and impressive, I can look past that. This engine sounds great and phenomenal running around the tracks. And when you get it up to speed, you can't even tell. One other thing I gotta give kudos to Lionel about is the IR tether, the wireless tether. This is leaps and bounds ahead of the MTH wireless tether. It does have a slight downfall when going around an S-curve on my layout. It loses connection briefly. But again, I'll take that any day over the wireless tether offered by MTH. I've had nothing but problems with it. I do have to say, as much as I love and adore this engine, this has probably been my most temperamental engine that I've had. It's also probably the most expensive engine I've had when you factor in the initial purchase price as well as the return trips to a repair center to be fixed. I featured this engine in a previous video, The Perils of O-Gauge Trains, which I'll put a link in the description to that video. However, to reiterate, I've had quite a few problems with wiring as well as a board on this engine. I picked this engine up off of one of the O-Gauge groups on Facebook. I was super tickled to get it. This was a pretty big purchase for me. It came from an estate sale. The gentleman who owned it didn't have a layout, but obviously loved trains, so he just collected and displayed them. Due to that, this engine is in fabulous shape. As I've mentioned, I've had several problems with this engine. However, I'm so happy to have it, I refuse to let it die or become a shelf model. I'll keep it running as long as I possibly can. Bunch of great detail. Here's a look at the box in case you're interested. I really like the box this engine comes in. Really makes it feel like you're getting something special, which it is. As I mentioned earlier, this is an older model with TMCC. She doesn't sound quite as good as her newer version with Legacy sound system. However, she still sounds very impressive while going around the layout. Let's go ahead and get her fired up. Here's the whistle. The whistle's actually very cool. It's got two tones. It's got that deep low tone when it's sitting still or traveling at low speeds. However, it has a higher pitch tone when it's traveling the rails a little bit faster, which you'll get to hear in a little bit. Here's the bell. And here's some of the crew talk as well as tower comm talk.
UP 3980, you are good to go. UP 3980, you are good to go.
That's pretty much it. As I say, pretty sparse by today's standards. But again, back then this sounded great, and it still does today. She also offers the sound of steam blowdown. Let's go ahead and get her moved out. Isn't that an awesome engine, guys? I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of the Lionmaster Challenger. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Until next time, guys, y'all take care. See you soon.